Standing up in McKinney, this is According to Callis, coming to you on June the 9th, 2023. This is episode 433, and today we're going to give you a 5 for Friday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you haven't been around, stick around. We got a brief intro, and we'll get right to the show. All right, for those of you wondering, yes, this is my labor of love. Yes, I spend a little money to do this. And yes, I enjoy the heck out of it. But we've got to get the word out. We've got to build an audience. And how do we do that? That's right. You can help me by sharing, and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends, share it on your social media. Quite frankly, subscription. Everything in the algorithm is driven by subscription. And while my 3 listeners have been enormously busy getting me over 150,000 downloads as of this week. All time, that means I'm well over 300 downloads per episode, and I know full well the first 300 episodes we're lucky to get 50 each. So I consider myself extremely blessed at the hard work of those 3 listeners. And yes, that's an old joke. But listen, subscriptions matter. And the other thing that helps and drives the algorithm a lot is if you rate and review this program. So go to your favorite podcast catcher and do me a solid. Rate and review this program. All right, so here we go. On with the show. 5 for Friday. That's right. Okay, so number 1, oath breakers. Yes, we're going to revisit this because it's in the news again today. So, apparently, this week has given us an impeachment of the Attorney General, another indictment of the former president, and, oh, by the way, somebody that donated money to the impeached Attorney General has now been arrested by the FBI. Will wonders never cease. Does this look orchestrated? Yes. Does this look like it was a well thought out smear campaign? Yes. Does there mean there's absolutely nothing going on here? Don't know. Let's figure it out. But in order to do that, that kicks us over to... Sorry. Stop the press. I was talking about breaking oaths. And how is it that we're bringing these up? Oh, that's right. Because we have an issue here, right? Every time I hear somebody running their mouth about somebody being a traitor and somebody being a seditionist, it's soon to find out that those that run their mouths the most about that are often trying to hide something that they themselves are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is called projection. So the more people point their finger at you or other people, the more likely it is that they themselves are guilty of something. So I'll ask you, when you break your oath, is that worse, the same, or not as bad as failing to follow the Constitution? Yes, that's a rhetorical question. In my mind, they're one and the same. As an elected official, you took an oath of office. You're supposed to follow and defend the Constitution. Now, I understand some people might interpret the Constitution slightly different than I do, and I would believe 100% that my understanding of the Constitution is accurate, as informed by various other teachers whom I believe know the Constitution far better than the average schmoes that got their education at law school. But that being said, I will allow that there are other quote-unquote acceptable interpretations of constitutional governance. There's a slim window there of what I would consider constitutionally appropriate. Then there's the progressives that ignore everything that is the slightest impediment to their power. And then there's the, let's call them big con people. Big con, right? The big government conservatives. They only want to slow things down. Oh, they just want to put a smiley face on it. And they'll justify any expansion of government based upon the money that they've already stolen, because that's what taxes are, from everybody else who is productive in society, and state because we're paying for it, we get to dictate the terms of how it's spent. And in a sense, they're not wrong. But you should have never taken the money in the first place. Again, violating the Constitution. But little old me, who am I to call them out on that? So that's issue number 1, right? In the 5 for Friday is breaking oaths. Okay, issue number 2 on the 5 for Friday, violating process. So it has been said that the impeachment of our Attorney General violated the process. You know what? I don't doubt it in 1 minute. The problem is, very few people can give me a good explanation of how it violated process. Now, that being said, I've heard from some people that actually do know the process, and they've pointed out various things that did violate the process, but it doesn't do any good for anybody on my team to run around screaming and crying about how the process was violated if they don't in fact understand how the process was violated. That's like the equivalent of hearing how we're going to steal Social Security and Medicare from Grandma and Grandpa. Well, no, nobody ever said that. Nobody ever suggested that or supported that. But the other side says it all the time, and we can't adequately refute it, nor do we require them to defend that or explain where that was said. So we have to be very careful about that. So, as far as violating the process, yeah, there's rules in place. But when you suspend the rules, the process becomes compromised. When you rush things, the process gets compromised. When you don't take an oath, when you're giving testimony, the process becomes violated. This whole compromised play here leads me to believe that something perhaps more is going on. Now, I will tell you, I'm a supporter of Attorney General Paxton. I believe that he's getting railroaded. Do I believe he's as pure as the wind-driven snow? No. I don't believe anybody in politics, as long as people are in politics, can be as pure as wind-driven snow. Now, do I believe he's a good guy? Do I believe he's on our side? Do I believe he wants to do the right thing? Do I believe he's a good conservative? Yes. So somewhere along the line, maybe something was done wrong. Oh, that's right. He paid a fine for that already. And then the feds said there's no there, and the state accepted the money as payment for the violation, and then came back around and tried to go after him again. Explain to me how that isn't a double jeopardy violation. But again, silly me, what do I know? I'm no attorney. Look, guys, my job is not to defend any one elected official, much less, a statewide or presidential figure. But it's clear there's things going on that we don't understand. We don't know all that's going on, but it's clearly not right. But unless you understand what's not right about it, unless you can explain that, perhaps we ought to slow our roll and just stick with something ain't right there, pardon the phrase, or something doesn't seem correct about how this was done, more appropriately, before we scream and call names. Which leads me to item number 3. That's right, on a 5 for Friday, we're looking for 5 things. So item number 3 is, we need to think before we speak. Now, perhaps some of you are aware of the Senator Ted Cruz tweets from a week or two ago. Little water. While I will not pretend to be as smart as Senator Cruz, nor would I pretend to know the Constitution as well as Senator Cruz, I would kindly remind Senator Cruz, as our U.S. Senator, his job is first and foremost to represent the state of Texas to the federal government. That does not include worrying about what Middle African countries do with people that violate their laws. But apparently, he felt it was important enough to virtue signal for the 2% of the voting public that will never ever support him anyway. Now, I know there's a whole lot of middle class Karens out there that just happen to be white that fret about such things because, well, that's what they have to do with their lives because there's nothing else going on of any importance. hey, that's their behavior and their belief, not me saying it. And as a brief aside, yes, that's also called a first world problem, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, first world problem. And again, just in case I need to say it one more time, this show is called According to Callus for a reason, because it's my opinion. And everything that I do is based upon my opinion and my understanding of events and facts. And if I get something wrong, feel free to comment on it. Feel free to send me an email or send me a text telling me where I got something wrong. I'll wait. But my opinion is the best understanding that I have of what I see right in front of me, and it doesn't mean that I'm always right. But you know what? I found far more often than not, I am right. And unlike Rush Limbaugh, it is not 99.44 or 98.44. Mine is probably, I don't know, better than average. How about that? Slightly better than average. Where have I heard that before? All right. Sorry. Back on track. Back on track. All right. So if you think about what it is you're representing, if you think about who you represent, and if you think about what is the priorities, you don't do silly things like worry about what's happening in an African country and how they deal with their criminals. And if you think this is about Africa, no. You shouldn't worry about what they do in China or South America or Europe for that matter, because your job is to worry about what happens in the United States under the United States Constitution. And oh, by the way, we've got a wide open border. Let's start with that. And I'd like something more than a few more platitudes and calling out Joe Biden. Do something. Take action. Item number 4. Action steps, right? Action speaks louder than your words. So what are those steps? What can we do? All right. So that is item number 4. Always look for the action steps, right? Because your actions speak louder than your words. So I will tell you firsthand, Teddy Roosevelt said, speak softly, carry a big stick. And though Teddy Roosevelt was a progressive, and I reject most of what he would shove upon our people and what he brought upon us, he's not wrong. He's absolutely right. If we'd spend a little less time running our mouths and a little more time doing the work behind the scenes, we would get better results. And if we would spend less time worrying about who gets the credit and who gets assigned certain tasks and more time actually working at getting the job done, we would be in a better situation. I heard somebody say over this last week, and I wish I could remember specifically who it was, and at this point it probably doesn't matter because I would almost guarantee it was not an original quote by them. But it basically stated as, Republicans fundraise while Democrats recruit. And while that may all be true, I would put it to you this way. Conservative Inc. fundraises while progressives recruit. Conservative Inc. is only concerned about feathering their own nest, preening and looking good, and virtue signaling to the right groups at the right time, whereas the progressives are actively working to destroy everything that is noble and beautiful. That means that we have to do twice the work. We have to make up for the morons in Conservative Inc. that refuse to stand where it matters, and we have to fight back against the progressives that seek to destroy all that is good and beautiful. That puts us in a tough spot because we have no right flank and we're always fighting to our left. And then the same guys on our right flank are always smacking to the right and nuancing and poo-pooing what the morons do on the left. And yes, I'm using the term moron because I can't think of a more appropriate term from somebody that seeks to destroy the home that they live in. So item number 5, that's right. On the 5 for Friday, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to throw out some announcements. That's right, announcements. Because it is a Friday. It is the last day of the week. It is June the 9th, which is the end of the first full week of June. And you need to know there are some meetings going on. Now, if you are in Collin County, Texas, on Monday, the executive committee is meeting. I'm not going to tell you where because if you're a precinct chair or an interested party, you should already know where. And it's at 6:30. And just in case you're wondering, yes, we will be entertaining conversations related to the breach of justice and oath breaking that went on over the last couple of weeks. So for those of you who find this mildly amusing, bring your popcorn. For those of you that want to lash out, we're here for you. Let's get it done. And maybe that wasn't the best way to put it, but I mean, really, as an executive committee of the Republican Party, all we can do is tell the elected officials, bad elected official, we don't like you for doing that. We have to take their money and we have to take their support. That requires a little more work than sending an angry letter. The same thing that we mock the Congress for doing all the time. All right. June the 13th, which is a Tuesday, the Collin County Patriots are meeting at the Redemption Point Church. That's downtown McKinney. We are going to be starting at 7 o'clock on the nose. However, you may gather at 6:30 for a little mingle time and some light snacks, perhaps. I would encourage you. We're going to talk about taking action locally, local activism. How can you do it? Who should you network with? How does it get done? Where do you find supporters? All of that stuff. It's coming up. And we've got a couple of local activists that are going to be there and come and instruct you on how to do these things. All right. Next item. June the 15th. That is a Thursday. For those of you following along, that now means I'm going to be at 3 meetings next week. Oh, yes. I will have a happy wife. The Election Review Committee, or as somebody else is phrased it, is what the heck happened? What the heck happened committee, right? We're meeting. It is open to all precinct chairs. It is open to interested parties by invitation. And if you would like an opportunity to testify or come tell us what you think we can do to improve our messaging, improve our performance, you can reach out to me directly, and I will turn you over to somebody that can get you on that calendar. And right now, I'm going to violate a principle. I am going to give you my cell phone number because it's not easy enough to find. It is 214-405-1852. That's right. That's my real life cell phone number. And you can feel free to call me and ask anything, but if you spam me or waste my time, you will be blocked. That's the lovely thing about cell phones. All right. Last item. That's right. If you think... I guess as far as announcements go, we have another new holiday, the 14th being Flag Day, which I'm not quite sure why we have a holiday for a flag, but on the 19th we celebrate the notification that the Emancipation Proclamation occurred. All right. I have nothing more for this weekend. That was my 5 for Friday. Now, if you allow me a slight divergence of the programming, I will tell you that this is episode 433. The breach of 450 episodes was about a week and a half ago, and that includes the numerous episodes that I have that are unnumbered. As of today, we have 151.4K specifically downloads all time. And I got to tell you, I'm very enthusiastic and I'm very proud of that number because of the work that you all have done in the audience. I do my best to show up 5 times a week, give you 25 to 30 minutes of the best programming I can throw down with short notice. I spend most of my days driving around in the car and in most of my evenings reading and watching interesting things so that I can broaden my mind and take some time to break down events and things that are going on locally. I try and take everything that happens locally and talk about the larger principle at play. I do my darndest to avoid getting caught in the into the swampy things that is DC. It would be super easy to have a show that talked about federal issues or general government issues all the time. It'd be super easy to complain about what goes on in the rest of the world. And by super easy, I mean there's just tons of content. There's tons of things you can talk about. You would never, ever run out. But I try and keep mine as Texas, Collin County, and McKinney focused as possible. But here's the thing. Here's the key point. If it's happening in McKinney, Texas, it's probably happening in your hometown too. And just because it's something that maybe sounds like it's unique to Collin County or McKinney or Frisco or Allen or Plano, Texas, not necessarily true. It may very well be happening in your town too. So while you may think that I'm being hyper-local, and I'm really not, everything that I talk about is largely applicable to where you live and what's going on in your backyard. So it's incumbent upon you to take the 15 minutes that it takes to listen to this show on 1.35 speed, or 1.75 speed, excuse me, get the gist of the story. Look, I realize I probably don't have the best radio voice in the world. I also realize that the show prep for this amounts to about 2 to 3 hours of listening to various things during the course of the day, 10 minutes of jotting some notes down, and then bam, get you an episode out. Why? Because it's a passion thing. I want to do the best I can with the time I have to invest it to bring a message to you. 1 of hope, 2 of action, and 3 of resoluteness. You can't do it on your own, but God's not going to do it for you. Right? Every day that goes by, we're not promised the next, but we get up, put our boots on, metaphorically speaking, and we do the best job that we can in working for the ultimate goal. So, I ask you, please join me, help me continue to get the message out, continue to keep people motivated, continue to stay active in your communities around you, because the change you want starts with you. And that's nothing unique. That is an old slogan, but that's something that people need to be reminded of time and time again. The change you want begins with you. And with that, this has been According to Callus, and I hope you enjoyed this 5 for Friday, and I will see you on the other side.